Hi folks, it's Nicole Cushing once again, and I have taken a dinner break, and now I'm back with another release day Q&A video. As you may recall, if you've been following along with these, today is the release day of my second novel, A Sick Gray Laugh. Very excited about that. And to celebrate, I'm taking questions on Facebook and Twitter from folks who are interested in finding out more about the book. So without any further ado, let's go to our fourth question for the day. This one coming from my fellow Hoosier, Paula Ash, up there, I think in northern Indiana. And Paula had this to ask. She said, you dedicated the book to the memories of Witold Gombrowicz and Leonid Andreyev. And this is actually how those are spelled. Gombrowicz and Andreyev. I like to roll the R's. I'm not sure exactly if they get rolled that way, but I kind of like pronouncing them with the rolled R's. Anyway, you dedicated the book to the memories of Gombrowicz and Andreyev. So I was curious about who they are and how their work, lives, memories influence the novel. So she goes on to add that she's also honored to be recognized as a Cushing enthusiast. She says, I damn sure am. So yes, I'm glad that she feels honored to be recognized as a Cushing enthusiast. But in regard to the question, okay, so Witold Gombrowicz, we'll start with him, was an author who was born in Poland, and right before World War II, he traveled to South America. And after the war broke out, I think the story is that he was no longer able to travel back to Poland. And so he stayed put in South America and lived there for most of the rest of his life. So he has, there's 3 or 4 books that he's known for. And in the United States, a lot of these were published or are continued to be published by Grove Press, the same people who published Henry Miller and Hubert Selby Jr. and these kinds of folks. So this is one of them. This English translation is translated as Pornographia. And you can see even there, this was published, I believe, in the 60s. And you see the quote there, it's the greatest unknown writer of our time. And the thing is, he hasn't gotten any better known since then. So even when he was, being newly published by Grove Press, he was considered to be obscure. This is an interesting book about people playing mind games on each other to kind of define each other and to get something out of the situation. Gombrowicz is a nihilist in the sense that he is focusing on the lack of an objective self and how every self is determined by the selves around them. So that basically people play games on each other to influence each other to get these odd, strange outcomes. So you have these kind of contests of wills where people are playing almost like elaborate metaphysical practical jokes on each other. That's the best way I can describe it. So there's this one, which I've read. There's another one, his signature book, I would say, is a book called Fairy-Dirk. And Fairy-Dirk is a nonsense word, kind of like Jabberwocky. But Fairy-Dirk is, for example, is about a man who is slowly kind of kidnapped and convinced that he's a teenage child and immersed in a teenage, kind of boys' boarding school. And that's a kind of like this sort of off-the-wall Gombrowicz style plot. I recently picked up another one that I have not read before, called Cosmos, again published by Grove Press. and I love this blurb up here. It's, probably the most important 20th century novelist that most Western readers have never heard of. It's like whenever poor Gombrowicz gets praise, it's always praise as like, in the context of obscurity. So it would make sense that as somebody who enjoys his work and who has been influenced by it, I would want to pay tribute to his memory and kind of raise up his memory and kind of say, this is somebody worth remembering. And so that's part of what that dedication was about. And also just that there's the silly kind of mind game with dark, kind of nasty nihilism intermixed with it is something that very much was an influence for A Sick Grey Laugh. So, there's this kind of really hideous sort of humor. When I say hideous, not humor that misses the mark, but hideous as far as like misanthropic and bitter humor that works a lot in Gombrowicz's work, along with some silliness. And that is something that influenced A Sick Grey Laugh. Now on to Leonid Andreyev. Now, this is a collection of his that I have. I have not read every work in this collection, but I have read several of the stories, and some of them I read in a different translation than this one, but I wanted to have stuff all in one place. This is a collection that was published in the 80s, I believe edited by Gombrowicz's granddaughter. But yeah, Gombrowicz died in 1919, and he was an ardent anti-communist and fled to Finland just before the Bolshevik Revolution, which helps explain why he was so little known. He was one of those people who the communists kind of just erased from literary history, even though Milan Kundera has good things to say for him, or rather about him. So the specific debt that A Sick Grey Laugh owes to Andreyev is that there is a novella that Andreyev wrote called The Red Laugh. And so it's kind of like, it's set, I believe, in the Crimean War. And the Red Laugh is kind of like this energy, this force that is motivating the war. And so the redness has kind of like this sentience to it. And so when that gave me the idea of a color, in this case gray, having a sentient energy to it. And so that's the debt that owes. Two important writers who I think are greatly overlooked and who are, I think, forefathers sort of in the heritage of this book, in the family tree of A Sick Grey Laugh. They're up there, along with folks like Thomas Ligotti and the American Midwestern literary writer Sherwood Anderson. So that's that, and now we're on to the next question.